Hello everyone. Today we are joined by Mr. Rabeel Warraich, a Pakistani shark and the founder of Sarmayacar Fund, Pakistan's largest venture capital fund. It is absolutely lovely to have you on board with us today, Mr. Warraich. Today we would like to shed light on your accomplishments and achievements and all that you have contributed to the community. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Mr. Warraich, please walk the community through your journey into being one of the most successful VCs in Pakistan. And furthermore, run us through your success with Sarmayacar.
First of all, thank you so much for having me here. It's a pleasure. And also for the very kind, overly kind introduction, I would say, because in my mind, hopefully we will be one of the more successful VCs out of Pakistan. But really, that success is determined when we start getting investment returns. But maybe if there's one thing that I can be blamed for, then it is introducing professional VC in Pakistan. And that journey is really like, the journey of Sarmayacar. My own personal journey started in Rawalpindi, where I was born, and I grew up studying around the Islamabad, Rawalpindi region, went to a cadet college, and then ended up for my university in the US at MIT. In between, did a year at Oxford, and that's how my career in finance started in London. Initially with investment banking, doing that with Morgan Stanley, and then moved over to the buy side to manage the foreign reserves of Singapore with the sovereign wealth fund GIC. That was really the foray into investment decision making and becoming an investment professional. Did that for about half a decade or a little bit more than that. And then at that time, the Pakistani ecosystem, which was really in its infancy, was starting to show some signs of there being potential for a professional venture capital approach being used to deploy that there. Which initially prompted me to set up a syndicate structure where similar like-minded colleagues and friends would come together, and we would back and pre-seed stage some of the early stage businesses that we were seeing around. That then formalized in 2018 in the form of the first dedicated venture capital fund for Pakistan. That vehicle was a $25 million vehicle, which we invested in across 15 or so businesses. Some of them have done quite well, but as is the nature of the beast, some companies have not done as well as we envisaged. But the idea was really to try to play on the demographic opportunity in the country, the very large, young, consumption-oriented population, which was moving its consumption patterns to digital-first avenues. And that's really the key thesis that we applied on the first fund. So far, it's been a tremendous journey. We've seen a huge influx of venture capital into the country over the last couple of years. A lot of people doing great work. But most importantly, it's really the builders, the entrepreneurs that are coming up with disruptive business models that are getting traction in the country and giving an opportunity for people like me and our team to just play a supporting role in that journey with them. So that's really where we currently are. Certainly my hope is that we can continue to be engaged in this ecosystem for the rest of my career, hopefully the rest of my life, because we are only at the beginning of that journey.
That's wonderful. Sincerity demands that talents mature over time, and your support for Pakistan startups and early stage businesses is admirable. You have undoubtedly progressed in your career by supporting startup cultures and have developed a reputation as a prolific venture capitalist. Walk us through how you feel looking back at all that you have not only achieved, but also contributed back to the community.
I think it's been a great journey, which has been laced with a lot of support by other people, and I have gotten lucky in many occasions in my life. But the one common theme that always was there with me throughout my journey was the importance of Pakistan and the importance of giving back. And for the most part, I wasn't able to figure out what was the best avenue of doing that. And perhaps with Sarmayacar, I found that meaning and that calling to maybe come back and try to share what I'd learned, or at least try to channel the interest that I saw in my journey towards Pakistan, but without having a professional avenue to invest some of that interest. I think there was a missing piece. And in that journey, I think there have been a lot of people that both encouraged me, but also kind of enabled this opportunity to come to fruition, which was to really play some sort of a supporting role in promoting job creation in Pakistan and promoting opportunities for the youth in the country, in really trying to bring some of the best practices that I had the opportunity of picking up elsewhere, getting experience and education in some of the more renowned institutions in the world. So all of that was really for my own personal benefit, and connecting the dot and completing the circle by being able to apply some of that in Pakistan was a very key part that I think thankfully was instilled in me from the very beginning through my parents, but then also through some of the friends and colleagues that I had the opportunity of working with, which then at the end really required just a leap of faith, because sometimes from a selfish perspective, when it's a completely wide space, one wants to try to do something different, and in that the satisfaction that comes from it is perhaps the biggest achievement I can point to in my career.
Mr. Wright, you've been mentioning Pakistan over and over. I really appreciate that because, there's a lot of talent emerging from the Pakistani tech industry with a lot of growth potential, I would say. Pak Launch, especially has been upfront in providing these SMBs with the platform that they need in order to be recognized. At the Unconference 23, in Dubai in January. What would you like to say about Pak Launch and its commendable efforts? And moreover, do you think there is ample room for growth in the Pakistani tech industry?
So I'll answer the second question first, which is that we're only really getting started around the Pakistani venture ecosystem and the tech opportunity. Not to bore people with too many stats, but we are only at roughly around 1% penetration of e-commerce versus overall retail, which compares to mid-single digits in India and almost 25-26% in the US. So that opportunity is very much still there, and it's ahead of us rather than already behind us. And that belief is really what I think we all that are involved in the ecosystem need to go with. There are going to always be ups and downs. And we've seen a bit of a correction in our local market and globally as well this year. But I think the growth opportunity around the segment, the opportunity to disrupt some of the traditional business models that have been at play is only really getting started now. And again, we can go into a lot of detail as to which sectors are most interesting or what kind of models are likely to be successful versus not. But if I take the overall opportunity, I think we are only getting started. And in terms of Pak Launch, I think what Pak Launch has done is quite phenomenal in being able to connect a lot of those stakeholders, because those stakeholders don't just exist within Pakistan.
Yeah.
A lot of the Pakistani diaspora, which has had numerous successful entrepreneurs that have built businesses after taking on venture capital, have figured out how to create teams, how to incentivize them, how to then go to the market to raise capital and then deliver against that capital and eventually achieve exits. A lot of that knowledge rests outside of Pakistan. And while part of our objective is also to be bridge builders between other ecosystems in Pakistan, Pak Launch has done this tremendous job of really connecting almost 300,000 people all around the world, focusing that attention on Pakistan, putting Pakistan on the global venture radar. And I think that has gone a long way towards both allowing new startups to raise capital, for people to find jobs, some people wanting to relocate back to Pakistan have found those connections via Pak Launch. So it's absolutely amazing what Ali Fahad and the team have been able to build. And again, like I said, I think it's only starting. I hope to see many more such conferences, much more engagement from the community. It's giving the Pakistani youth this hope that entrepreneurship can be a viable career choice. And I think that is perhaps the most important role that has been played. And I certainly wish Pak Launch all the best for everything in the future that I'm sure they're going to pull off.
Thank you, Mr. Warraich. With all the businesses striving to make it to the very top, it would be lovely if you could just, bestow upon them a word of advice or suggestion that would prove to be helpful for them?
Yeah, but this is often like a question which is tricky to answer, because one goes through their own journey and you learn from your own experience. But if there's one thing that I can say is just like play the long game. I think like shortcut mentality, which sometimes in Pakistan is as a result of like lack of trust in the system, giving back if you put in hard work. I think we need to forget about that. We need to really try to build solid, sustainable, profitable businesses. And on that journey, try to find the right partners, the right kind of inputs and resources that help these entrepreneurs build those businesses. So there is really no shortcut to wealth generation, to building a successful business, or just more generally success. So play the long game, have faith, do the right thing, and right things will happen to you and your business.
That's perfect, Mr. Warraich. It was lovely to have you on board with us.